check कुछ कर लो, you know.
All right, we are live.
So we are live now. Yeah. It's good. Maybe I'll put this down this way.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tejas here from Aussizz Group in Adelaide. Today's session is about the state-sponsored 190 and the 491 visas. So we've got a panel of different migration agents from all over Australia through our Aussizz offices. So we've got few migration agents from Melbourne office. We got Nirav there. We got Parth Patel there. We got Harjeet as well from Thomastown office. Then we got Mr. Dharmendra from Perth office. We got Mr. Vaibhav from Sydney office. We got Mr. Malay from Perth, Brisbane office as well. And we got Vishali from Adelaide office. So we'll be discussing different topics today, as we already got the questions with us. So there are a list of questions we already been sent out by the clients who got registered with their questions online. So what we're going to do in the next an hour or so session is basically we'll be asking different questions to our panelists, and we'll be discussing different options regarding your migration all over Australia. So it could be one profile, different options from all over Australia, either in Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, Western Australia, or South Australia, or any other state. I hope everyone can hear me. Guys, anyone have any issues regarding technical glitch or anything?
It's all good.
All good.
Yeah, all good.
Okay. All right. So we'll start with the question number one, which is coming from Queensland. So there's a client who's asking about the university lecturer to get sponsored under the state nomination. She's still waiting for the skill assessment, but she has got a PhD in horticulture from Australia. So in this kind of situation, what would you recommend, Mr. Malay?
Thanks, Tejan, for the introduction. In this situation, he has to get the skill assessment done, first of all, for the university lecturer. And like, as you said, he has done PhD. So if you have done PhD in Brisbane or in Queensland, you don't require job offer letter. He cannot directly apply for the state nomination under 190 pathway. So as soon as he gets the skill assessment done, he can apply for the EOI, which Queensland will be open in July. As soon as Queensland reopens, like currently it's closed for 190 visas. So as soon as it's reopened, he can straight away apply for the EOI, and without offer letter, he can get the state nomination done as well. And if he has done master's degree only, he has to have 6 months of experience before he apply for the state nomination. That's the criteria for the Queensland.
Right. So I believe this kind of PhD graduates are also eligible for the special visa, the new category which we recently got granted, the special talent visa, distinguished talent visa.
Yes, Tejas. So you can apply for a global talent independent program, and through that program you can get the distinguished talent visa subclass 858 or 124. For that, if you this stream is specially available for the students who graduate from IT, or let's say medical technology or information technology or engineering. If you are a PhD graduate from any of these backgrounds, like any agricultural technology as well. So there are few list of technological fields where if you have completed a PhD degree within last 3 years, you can certainly apply for a global talent program, and through that program we can get a subclass 858 visa.
Right, right. So the requirement for the global talent visa is obviously you need to meet the high income requirements and have a PhD or the master's for research.
A lot of people get confused there basically. So you don't have to have the income right now, but you need to establish that you will be able to earn this much money, and you need one Australian citizen or permanent resident to nominate you who is prominent in that particular field as well. And you can also obtain a recommendation letter from different people from different organizations who also are prominent in their field, and they can vouch that yes, this person will be able to earn this much money because their thesis and the published papers are so much advanced that these technologies can be converted into commercialization as well. If not, then they can still get the jobs which can pay them this much money, which is 148,000 or more.
Right, right. Yeah. Thanks, Vaibhav. So I've got another questions coming from Victoria. So basically, this applicant has telecommunication and network engineering with 80 points. He will increase it to 85 in the future for 189. So he's looking for different kind of options if 189 doesn't work out. So what kind of options would you recommend, Harju?
The occupation is telecommunication network engineer.
That's
like
right.
189, as we all aware, that invitation is gone up to 95 points or above, and it might come down to 90 again. But we have to think about the different options in regards to Victoria. Like if a person has completed any kind of engineering, like in Australia, which is recent graduate one in engineering, then that person has to get a skill assessment as an engineering technologist. Like sometimes most of the applicants that we are come up with, they have completed their bachelor's in overseas and they are completing their master's here in Australia. Like a person who has completed his master's in Victoria and he's getting a skill assessment, for example, on the basis of the bachelor's, right? And if the bachelor is, for example, in telecommunication and master's here in in MBA or master in any other stream which is not relevant to engineering, then that person is not going to be eligible for getting a Victoria nomination, even though he or she got a skill assessment as an engineering technologist. The qualification completed in Australia has to be relevant to the skill assessment from wherever he or she is getting the nomination. That's what Victoria wants. The skill assessment has to be relevant to the, sometimes, like as you said, the telecommunication engineer, if they have completed here in Australia recently, then they need to get a skill assessment as an engineering technologist and they need to get a job offer in Victoria. Then 190 is possible with 60 points.
Okay. What about 491? What do you recommend for the applicant?
If 491 is mostly open to all of the occupations. The basic criteria for 491 is a person has to have a job offer from a regional area of Victoria and business must be operating in regional area for a minimum of 2 years. Business must be operating. Sometime we are come up with the, like business is taken over by a new employer. Then those kind of cases, you have to definitely discuss with the expert, and that expert, they will let you know what sort of documentation can be involved to show to Victorian government to prove that business is operating for minimum of 2 years, even the new management take over the control. There are some sort of documentation that most of the applicant, when they apply through themselves or through the other agents, they are missing. You must require the expertise to tell you what sort of documentation has to be provided to Victoria government if asked. You don't have to provide straight away what sort of documentation are required to prove the genuineness of the the business operating in regional area. Just apply the application as it is. If Victoria asks for those kind of a backup to show lease agreement and that sort of things, then you need to provide after the request.
Right. Thank you, Edwin. So we've got another questions coming up from Western Australia, Mr. Daminder. So this client has lodged an expression of interest on 14th of April through the family sponsored the 491 category. He's having 70 points at the moment. The occupation is a telecommunication network planner. What do you recommend for this particular applicant? What are his options?
Well, firstly, in WA, if I understand that correctly, if it's a 491 family sponsored, it's like anyone's guess anyway, isn't it? If he's not able to, it's the he, right? If he's not able to get something close to, in the vicinity of 90 above, then really you are just clutching the straws, and that's just no point of that. We get that question asked a lot of the time. What are our chances? There's no crystal ball in this, as you all know, but it never fails to amaze us in our industry to say, what are the chances I've applied 2 months ago, 3 months ago? Because that family-sponsored 491 is going to be mirroring the 189, which we all know. Now, any leftover spillages, hang on, let's see a 491 family-sponsored. Let's give them a chance. So really, it is all depending on just when and how far you've actually applied. And if you're 4 or 5 months behind, you're safe. If whatever visa that you're on is not going to run out, stick around. You just might get 90, 95. you should be in the game for getting an invitation.
Right. What are the chances for the 190 from WA as a state sponsored?
Oh, look, in fact, I just did a Facebook Live yesterday. I've got a list in front of me. Was that a specific occupation, Tejas, you're talking about, or is just
telecommunication network planner?
Okay. Just going through this list that I have. I do have a list, guys. I'm not looking at a blank piece of paper. Just hang on. Okay. If anyone has lodged something 2 to 3 months ago in 190 in WA, if you are scoring about 80 points, highly likely you'll get an invitation.
Okay.
Yeah, for a 190 we're talking about.
And then they will be required to produce 6 months of experience.
Yeah, so if you want me to go into that, sorry, I wanted to understand your question fully. So how WA works is a bit different from what... Sorry, just breaking up a little bit.
This particular occupation, they require that...
Sorry, Tejas, you were all breaking up. I couldn't hear bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, that's fine. So what I'm asking is for this particular occupation, they require 6 months of experience or 6 months of the job offer.
So when they are invited, what they need to do is they need to, upon invitation, have 28 days to produce either a job offer letter for 6 months from a prospective employer, or if they've been lucky enough, been working in that occupation, that'll be sufficient.
Okay.
Give that, provide that to the state nomination team. They give you the thumbs up. Within a month and a half, 2 maximum, you get a heads up to say, this is all good. Fine, you're fantastic. That's how you're off and running. That is a mandatory requirement, though.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
So next question is coming from New South Wales, but it's regarding Victoria. So Ms. Damasilo is asking, what are the chances for the 491 family sponsored in Victoria? I'll still ask Vaibhav to answer this question because, again, family sponsored is a broader range. It's not just particular about Victoria itself.
That's right. So obviously the client's question is not totally complete because we don't know what points you are at and what occupation are you talking about. But I would point out here that there is skill select data available on skill select website. And as the question was asked for WA as well, I would probably re-emphasize that how you can find out whether you'll have a good chances or not is basically look at the skill select data, look at the last invitation round report, and see what is the cutoff there, right? If you see there are too many EOIs in 491 under particular occupation or any non-provider occupation, right? And then you see what is the cutoff on a 491 last report in the 491 visa. And if you see the cutoff is, let's say recently the cutoff went down to 80 or 85 points for many of the occupations, right? For 491. So even if you reach at 80 or 85, I would say you still have a good chances when the invitations are at high numbers, right? But yes, if the invitations are only 50, like let's say, like that happened in April 2020, then definitely the cutoff will go up because there is only a small amount of invitations being sent by the department. That means they will only, 50 invitations will be divided only on top notch people who's got, let's say 100 or 105 points. But when it comes down to, let's say 200 invitations for 491 or 100 invitations for 491, the cutoff is likely to go down to 85 or 90. Now, if you are there somewhere and except, let's say, I would say except accounting, auditing, mechanical engineer and engineering technologist, most of the other occupations can expect 85 to 90 for a subclass 491.
Right. Okay. Now that's fair enough. So next question is also coming from New South Wales Vaibhav. Ms. Shrestha is asking, she's working as an administration assistant in an accounting firm, which is ASX listed. It's a big firm. Can she get that experience as part of her 190? She has got so far 7 months of experience. If she wants to get 190 from New South Wales, can she use that 7 months of experience? If you can help her out.
So if your job title is not directly an accountant, then see, it's not really like that. If your title is not accountant, you cannot claim the work experience. What I would generally say is the commercial title for the roles can be different, right? Let's say I had a client whose job title was a project something, but he was actually doing an accounting role for each project, and it was a big company. Like Ms. Shrestha said that she's working for an ASX listed company. So I'm sure that the company size is quite big. So her role would be also, even though she's let's say commercially titled as admin assistant, and if she's if you are performing a role of an accountant, and if you can relate those duties to an accountant, then definitely I would. But in this kind of cases, I would always recommend to get an opinion from assessment body like CPA or IP or ICA, and have your employment assessed. Then definitely, there is no doubt that the case officer would come back and question your employment relevance to the nominated occupation. We have also had cases where people were working as a credit manager, let's say in banks, where they actually approve loans and credit cards. Now, I would say that it is still relevant because they still have to go through and they need to have a core understanding of accounting processes, because they might be assessing, let's say, business applications for a loan, or they might be assessing individual applications for a loan. They do have to use that numbers skills that they gain during their accounting studies, right? So if yes, it is. If your duties includes, making, still, let's say, you might not be lodging profit and loss, and you might not be making reports for it, but you might be going through those documentation, and your job requires you to have detailed understanding of let's say profit and loss and balance sheets and reports, financial reports of the companies. Then definitely you can certainly apply for an employment assessment. Even without employment assessments, we have got the positive assessment approval for the visas. But I would highly recommend in this kind of cases that the candidates should go to CPA or IP and get their employment assessed, so that there is no doubt later on for your application to be when the case officer is assessing, there is no doubt for the case officer that whether your job description is relevant to a nominated occupation or not.
Right. Thank you, Vaibhav. So I've got next question coming from Victoria itself, but it's regarding the graduating in Master of Engineering course. So I'll still go back to Harjeet and ask him to describe what's the pathway for the recent graduate who has finished the Master of Engineering in Victoria. Harjeet?
Yeah, Master of Engineering, if you have completed in Victoria, it depends like what was your major in, right? Some of clients, they have completed Master of Engineering Professional, right? Then obviously they have to go for the pathway on the basis of their bachelor's in overseas. Whatever bachelor they have completed in overseas, they have to follow the pathway according to the skill assessment they are getting. If they have completed their bachelor in a mechanical in overseas, and they have completed a Master of Engineering Professional here, then they need to get a skill assessment as a bachelor's mechanical engineering, and then they need to get onto the pathway like a 189 pathway to the mechanical engineer at the moment, above 95 points. And even though, as I explained earlier, they won't be able to apply for Victoria recent graduate if they get a skill assessment as an engineering technologist. Because engineering, if they get a skill assessment as an engineering technologist, Victoria always asks for the relevant qualification. There are very less likely chances they get an invitation from Victoria while getting a skill assessment as a mechanical engineering on the basis of overseas qualification and the master they have completed here in Victoria. That's why I recommend for them to go if they have any relative living in Australia who is even if they're family member or first cousin or anybody, then they can claim points from them to apply 491, or else they can go for 491 Victoria Regional Sponsor. As I mentioned earlier, they need to get a job offer from a person who is running business in Victoria Regional area for 2 years, and that job offer has to be in the relevant field, which is mechanical engineering. Not that could not be anything else. Like, for example, I came up with many applicants, they said they're working as a machine operator, and they have got a skill assessment as a mechanical engineer, or they have got a skill assessment as a telecommunication engineer on the basis of bachelor's. They won't be able to, to get a nomination from Victoria or invitation from Victoria if their qualification is not, their skill assessment is not relevant to that occupation they are currently working.
Tejas, I would also like to suggest, probably
Thanks,
Parth can also put in input about engineers from Canberra, because Canberra does have the state nomination open for engineers. Parth, would you like to say something about it?
Yeah, sure. As you might be knowing, if you want to apply for Canberra state nomination under 190 visa, suppose your occupation must be open, listed as an open occupation under the ACT occupation list. So most of the engineering occupations are open, and that's where you can also apply for 190 state nomination. If not, you can also go for 491 state nomination as well. If your occupation is just listed as open occupation, you straight away get 20 points under the Canberra metric system. So basic requirement when you look at Canberra state nomination for 190 visa, Canberra states that your occupation must be listed as open, or you must be sponsored by your employer under 457 or 482 visa. You are working with them for 6 months of time, and your occupation can be open or closed if you are under employer sponsored visa. Or if you are living in Canberra for last 5 years, then you can apply for 190 state nomination. That's the basic requirement. On top of that, any one of the options you select from the 3 options I told. On top of that, you also require 6 months of full-time job. That job can be in any occupation. So you can, if you're looking at, suppose your occupation is just open, like when you are talking about engineers, your occupation is suppose open, you are required to go and work for at least 6 months full-time in Canberra. With that, you are eligible to apply. Your score as per the metric system will be calculated. The applicant who has highest points will be selected. As of now, Canberra, they have selected all applicants who has lodged application for the Canberra metrics with 70 points. Please note that these points which I'm talking about, that's totally different to what immigration, like the department point test. So when you are saying I'm having 80 points under the department point test, that doesn't mean that you will be selected straight away under the metric system for the Canberra. So you'll have to calculate your points as per the Canberra metrics. And if you have 70 points or higher, you have very high chances that you will be selected under 190, because in the last invitation round, that was I think on 21st of April, that's where they have selected all applicants who has lodged Canberra metrics with 70 points. And that's where I think in the next invitation round for Canberra, there are high chances that Canberra might select applicants who has even 65 points. If your occupation is open, you have high chances that you might be able to score 65 points under the metric system. However, you can look at the point breakdown on the Canberra metrics, like on the Canberra website. That's for 190. If you're looking at 491, it's much more easier actually. For 491 Canberra state nomination, Canberra states that your occupation can be open or closed. That means that if you're an engineer or any other occupation, most of the occupations are listed as either open or closed. That means you are eligible for 491 state nomination with your occupation being open or closed. Plus, on top of that, you are required to be staying and working for 3 months in Canberra. Your work can be even part-time. So even 20 hours you have worked in any other occupation, that can be like I worked as an waiter. Still, I'm eligible to apply with 3 months of job. So with 3 months of job, you are eligible. But again, at the end, what comes is the Canberra metric system. The applicant who will have higher points will be selected. To what I remember, in the last invitation round for Canberra, they didn't invite any applicants in the 491 category because they already got quota for the next month, and that's why they said we won't be inviting any applicants under 491 ACT state nomination. So another thing is, lots of clients also ask that, okay, Canberra, they have closed 491. So does it like other states also I cannot apply, or I cannot apply for 491 family sponsorship? So it's not like that. It's just that Canberra didn't invite under 491. So you are still eligible for other states or for the family sponsorship. And secondly, like in the last round, they didn't invite any applicant, but then in the last round, they selected applicants with 65 points who has applied until March. So that means that the waiting with even 65 points under 491 is just around a month of time. And there are high chances that that point cutoff will also go down to maybe 60, because this financial year, Canberra, they only allocated 200 seats under 491 category. Like they have total of, I think, 1,400 seats. Out of that, 1,200 nomination seats were under 190, and remaining 200 seats were allocated under 491. That's why, because they were having only little, like less number of state nomination available under 491, still they have invited good number of people. But next year, they said that they will be making the quota 50-50. That is, half seats will be allocated to 190, half seats will be allocated to 491. That's where I strongly believe that as of now, even having just 200 seats, they are selecting applicants who have 65 points. That's why I think that from July onwards, even if you have 60 points, you will have very high chances that you will be selected. The good thing with Canberra is there are lots of options to increase your points, and you can work in any occupation you want. So suppose when you look at any other states, most of the states, like when you look at the bigger states like Western Australia, Queensland, or Victoria, or New South Wales, they are asking for the job in the same field. However, when you look at Canberra, they are saying we can sponsor you wherever you like, in whatever occupation you are working. What you are looking at, what you should be looking at is your points. and you can focus on the focus on the factors which can give you extra points under the Canberra metric system. So your age doesn't matter, your professional year might not matter if you're not doing that professional year program under Canberra, your NATI score doesn't matter, something like that. Suppose if you are a single applicant, actually, when you look at 189 visa, if you're a single applicant, suppose you get 10 extra points. And if you have a partner who is not qualified, you don't get that many points. But when you look at Canberra metrics, if actually you have a partner, you got a benefit, because if your partner has any study plus 6 each, you can get five points for under the Canberra metric system, something like that. So if you are married, suppose, it's good to be living in Canberra because you get more points. If you are single, you will be getting actually lesser points when you look at Canberra metric system. When you look at the immigration point system, if you are single, you get 10 points. If your partner is not qualified, that means if your partner does not have a skills assessment 6 each, you don't get extra points. So that way also Canberra is better. So yeah, if you are engineer, because occupation is open, you straight away get 20 points, which other applicants doesn't get that points. Like suppose if you are IT applicant, or if you are accounting applicant, because most of the students who are struggling nowadays that are accountants and IT applicants, that's where most of the occupation which are under accounting category and IT category are closed under Canberra. That means you don't have competition with that people. If you are engineer, you are straight away getting that 20 points. So that's good that way as well.
You know, you sound like you are the ambassador of ACT. That was a very detailed explanation. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now I guess we have lost Tejas's contact. So I'll probably continue hosting this. Now the next question is from New South Wales. Now the client's asking, which is, I guess it's Shrestha again. So the question is that, sorry, I guess I've just already looked at that question. Okay, so the next question is from Purohit. So which the question for New South Wales is 491 visa options in South Australia, both state sponsorship and chain migration. So because this question is for South Australia, I would probably ask Vaishali from South Australia. So I'll repeat the question, Vaishali. It's 491 visa options in South Australia, both state sponsorship and chain migration. Would you like to take over?
Yeah, that's correct. These two pathways are still available, but then it depends on what occupation they are applying in. For some occupations, the chain migration pathway has already closed. South Australia graduation or 1-year work pathway are most of the times open throughout the year. But many occupations such as engineering, IT, the chain migration pathway has already closed. It will reopen in July, only for a short time though. So it actually depends on what occupation you want to apply for. Now, I think the candidate hasn't cleared what occupation it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
And probably, you might want to take this opportunity and explain the entire, if you can probably put more light on 491 on general and 190 on general, what would be the criteria for most of the occupation, and so that we can continue. Then after we can continue to the next question.
Sure. I'll talk about 190 first. Now 190 will be available to those applicants who have either graduated in South Australia or who have worked here for at least 1 year. Mainly all occupations are open for 190. For the South Australian graduates, South Australian graduation plus 1 year of employment will be required, or else 1 year of employment will be the second pathway. Majority of the occupations, these two pathways are currently open. For many of them, it's closed. Otherwise, there are 4 pathways. Either you have to be a South Australian graduate, or you have to be working in South Australia for 1 year. Third pathway is chain migration. If you have an immediate family member residing in South Australia for the last 24 months, you can still access the occupation list. And fourth pathway is if you have high points, which is at least 95 at this stage. As I said, for majority of the occupations, the 2 pathways, chain migration and high points, are currently closed, and we hope for them to open in July once again. So for 190, currently it's only 2 of them. You have to be a South Australian graduate and be working here in South Australia in the nominated occupation, or you have to be working in SA in the nominated occupation. For those applicants who have studied in another state except South Australia in the last 10 years, generally they would not be considered for 190. Even if they have studied here, even if they have worked here for 1 year, they would usually be eligible only for 491. So 491 is of course the most popular pathway for those who have migrated from other states. For 491, if you have not studied in South Australia, you should be working at least 1 year if the occupation is closed. Now, South Australia has, just to make it a bit brief, South Australia has two types of lists currently. One is the open list, where occupations are highly available and can be accessed by anyone. Other is a closed occupation list, where if you are applying for a certain occupation, you have to meet one of these 4 pathways. So it depends on the occupation, what list the occupation is on. If it is open, you can still apply for 491, but of course you should be living in South Australia for at least 6 months, or you should be a graduate here. If it is closed, and if you have migrated from other states, you should be working in that particular occupation for at least 1 year, or else if the pathway is open, you should have a family member or you should have high points. So I think it will all depend on what occupation it is and what pathway currently is open for this occupation.
Thank you, Vishali. I would probably hand over to Tejas. Our host is back again. Welcome back, Tejas. So you can take over.
Thanks, Vaibhav. I'm sorry for the trouble.
So we have reached the question for Mr. Kunwar.
Yeah, that's for Victoria. Yes, I'll go to Nirav this time. So Nirav, this applicant has done certificate 4 through RPL, and I've got a skill assessment as a chef. What are his chances for 190 or 491 in Victoria? If you can elaborate in detail.
Yes, Tejas. Actually, as you say, that like he has certificate as through RPL as a chef. So chef is currently available in 190 for Victoria, and like the basic requirement says that like you need to have minimum 65 points and skill assessment. So it depends like how many years of experience he has, because specifically through RPL, he will require around 6 years of experience to get the skill assessment done. And for Victoria State nomination 190, like they will require that he needs to have 5 years of experience in total. Post qualification, they say that, but here he does not have like the qualification in his field which he has studied actually, but he got it through RPL. So still he can apply with that one, like if he has at least 5 years of experience. And with that, he will require like a job offer later. If he's already working here, he has a good chance to get the invitation with 65, because Victoria is invited like good number of invitation for cook and chef and like even pastry cook if they have five years of experience in their field.
Right. Thanks, Nirav. So next question is pretty much a generic question, Vaibhav. It's coming from New South Wales. So basically, the applicant has done accounting in Bachelor of Accounting, and he's asking what are his options for 189 or 190. So any one of you would like to discuss in detail?
Yes, I can take that. That's not an issue. So one of the favorite question, or probably I would say hot topic that we have, which is accounting nowadays, because there are many graduates. Now, see, I wouldn't say that the accountants cannot get a PR by living in big cities like Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. You can if you plan it properly, but you got to have a proper plan working towards your points, especially. So if you can reach target 95 points or more, definitely you can apply for 189 and 190 from New South Wales or even any other big cities as well. But if you do think that, okay, it's very hard for you to reach those points, 95 or more, then I would definitely recommend that you take another option. So first, I would like to discuss about the 189 and 190 in New South Wales, and then I'll probably take it further to some other states. So in 189, generally, as you can see that the cutoff is 95 points, but the waiting period is over 6 months, or I would say even more than 9 months nowadays, because the last cutoff was at 95 points for the people who have lodged an EOI in mid-June, I think 19th of June 2019. So if you can see that, until April, if even somebody lodged an EOI on 20th of June hasn't got the invitation so far, that means you see that the waiting period is almost close to 9 months or more now. So if you look at the cutoff is at 95 points overall. Now, if you are reaching at 95 points and if you have a continuous job, definitely you can consider living in big cities like Sydney or Melbourne, because eventually if you do have a stable job that is going to give you 2 years or 3 years of work, where your company might even agree to sponsor you for the meantime while you are collecting your points, like let's say going on 482 visa and then coming back to your points table and increasing your points by then, and at the same time, let's say have 95 points. But if you don't reach 95 points, and if you don't have the work experience, even some people have work experience from overseas. Let's say you might have a bachelor degree from overseas, because we have dealt with many cases like that. that the client had a bachelor degree from overseas and then studied Masters of Accounting in Australia. But after bachelor degree overseas, they had 3 years or 5 years of work experience in accounting field. So we can utilize those work experience as well and get them assessed and then claim the 10 points from overseas work experience too. So if you are in that situation where you can reach 95 or more, definitely you can stay in Sydney or Melbourne or any other big cities. And at the same time, you need to have some backup plans as well. So that therefore I would say, you should have a stable job, which might agree to sponsor in future. So that can also later on add points. If not, then you have a backup plan that get a 4 years of 482 visa and then eventually move towards 186 if your company is agreed to sponsor. But now if you cannot get, or if you think you can't reach these points, or you don't have a stable job, or your company might not agree to sponsor, then you might want to rethink of moving to some other state. Let's say, for example, Northern Territory, where the nomination options are there that if you work 6 months full time, then the anti-government says that we, on case-by-case basis, we would consider application for subclass 190. If not, definitely you're likely to get 491 for sure, right? And then through 491, after working 3 years in regional area, you can get, and living and working in regional area, you can get 191. So that's another option. Let's say moving to Adelaide would be another option, as my colleague Vishali mentioned, that if you're interested as well, you can move to Adelaide, study 1 year, and at the same time work 1 year as an accountant, and then you can qualify for 491. Or as Harjeet explained, that Victoria does have a state nomination for subclass 491. If you are able to secure a job offer, you can also consider moving to, let's say, regional Victoria and finding it if you can find a job. Even Tasmania would be an option where you can study 1 year and or work in and or study, let's say, any 1 year course which is in demand in Tasmania. I would generally prefer something related to aged care or healthcare workers, where you have a better chances to get, even if you study certificate 4 or diploma, they would accept these kind of courses. Then I guess, Canberra and other states are there, but I wouldn't really prefer for an accountant graduate, because their state nomination options are so strict that you won't be able to make enough points in Canberra metrics. I would say probably Malay can put more light on that, whether Brisbane or my colleague Dharmender can probably put more light on Western Australia, if there is any other option for accountants who have graduated from Sydney.
Yes, if you're a graduate from any other state, like as you mentioned, like Sydney, or even in Victoria, if you're working in Brisbane or Queensland, you can say there are a couple of options, 190 and 491 both. If you're working for a 1 year, like 12 months of experience, if you have as an accountant, and even in Queensland, you are eligible to apply for 190 visa. Currently it's closed, but it will be reopened in July. So as soon as they will reopen, and if you have a year experience, like even if you have overseas experience, like 6 months, and if you are working 6 months in Brisbane, they will consider that as well. Like all over total experience, they require 12 months. Out of that 12 months, 6 months experience in Queensland. And if you have working full time, and if you have a job offer letter for further 1 year, you are eligible for Queensland state nomination for 190. And if you are applying for 491 visas, last year they were only open for recent graduates. Like they apply, like if you have 3 months of experience, you can apply, but there was another options like a finance manager. Like all the accountants graduate, they can get a skill assessment as a finance manager if you have completed study from any other states as well. So if you have a skill assessment as a finance manager, and if you have 1 year of experience in Queensland in regional area, you are eligible to apply for Queensland 491 visas anytime.
It's just very interesting. Sorry, just to comment on the 190 and the 491 in WA. We get a lot of queries from interstate people saying, hey, how do we apply in WA? Very blanket statement in WA. You're not a graduate? Sorry, that's why they have a GOL, graduate occupation list. It's interesting to hear how matrix, this and that, people can manufacture themselves. WA just has that. A general stream, a graduate occupation list. If you're not in there, they really don't want to know you, pretty much. That's why it's WA. Wait a while. We'll let you know whether you're going to be involved or not. And it's just very straightforward. When you are invited for either one of them, previously 12 months of experience, now they've relaxed it for its own graduates. So yeah, it's not a, you can't manufacture your way into a WA 190 or 491. There's just no way in the world that's possible. If you're not,
would be if they come and study at least 2 years in WA, then they.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thanks, Dharmender.
Yep.
Yeah, the next question would be coming from New South Wales, but it's regarding Tasmania. So I would go to Nirav to discuss about the chances of getting the state nomination Tasmania. Unfortunately, we haven't got any detailed information from the client about the occupation and stuff. So if you just discuss in general currently available options for Tasmania.
Yeah, sure. Like broadly, like for Tasmania, as like they also nominate for 190 and 491 both, but they have like different categories in both skill migration visa supply. So first, like I will say about the 190. So in 190, like they have two categories, like Tasmanian graduates and working in Tasmania. So minimum eligibility requirement that like you need to have total 65 points, including 5 points from the state. You need to have a skill assessment. Then like your age must be less than 45. That's like normal as per Department of Home Affairs requirement. Apart from that, they require that in the graduates category that you should have studied 2 years in Tasmania. And if you have studied those 2 years from the Tasmanian skill occupation list, then there are good chance that you can get the invitation for the 190, because they say that like they have a limitation of the quota to invite for 190. So if you're only meeting the minimum eligibility criteria, then they will see like what additional you have compared to all other occupations. So they can consider like in terms of if you are one of them, the labor market shortage in Tasmania. If you have a partner and if your partner has the skills to work in Tasmania, they have a good chance to get the invitation compared to other applicants. And if you have like specific expertise where Tasmanian government require in that state, then you have a good chance as well. So this is like if your like occupation is in the list, but your study is not part of Tasmanian skilled occupation list. So you need to submit your career plan as well along with that. So career plan mention that how your study will explain or like expand your career in Tasmania, like how you're able to get the job, even if your occupation is not in the one of the occupation list for the Tasmania. So that's like a graduate category. They have the 6 months working category where if you're working 6 months full time in Tasmanian skilled occupation list, and it should be in your nominated occupation only. So you must be working full time, 35 hours per week, or 2 part-time jobs that can be considered as well. So if you're meeting any of that 2 requirements, you are eligible to apply for a 190 state nomination criteria. So in the graduate category, your occupation can be any occupation on STSUL, like short-term occupation list. But if you're applying in working category, your occupation must be on Tasmanian skilled occupation list. Then only you are eligible. So like IT and accountants are not part of the Tasmanian skilled occupation list for 190. So if you move to apply for 190 working as an accountant over there, you might not be able to get 190, but they can divert your application for 491. Because even like for 491, they have the similar criteria available. So that was for 190. I will go for the 491. In the 491 visa category, they will require like you need to have just 50 points, and 15 points you will be getting from Tasmanian state. And they have like different categories as well in that. So first, it's same as like 190 for graduates. So for graduates, instead of 2 years study, they will require 1 year study. So you need to do minimum 40 weeks register course over there, and you need to stay there for a year. So if you complete 1 year study and 1 year stay in Tasmania, then you can be eligible. For example, like we have clients, like let's say they finish 1 year of master here and they want to move to Tasmania to complete another year, like in Utah. Then if they complete that remaining 1 year or 2 semesters over there, they can apply for 491 category as well later on. Yeah, and they need to have minimum like certificate 3 category. So they stop the inviting like aged care and disability care certificate graduates. So, but if you have done diploma in that category, you can still get the invitation for the 491. So specifically, they require the only inviting certificate categories for trade occupations. And that graduates category, like they are inviting, if you have studied over there something in health, construction, like if you have done any trade qualification over there, if you study anything in engineering, there are good chances that you will get the invitation. That's like there are chances that if you have done the community or disability study over there in diploma, you have a good chance to get the invitation over there for 491. So this is like for the graduate category for 491. And the second one is working category. So for working category, it's similar requirement, like 6 months of experience in Tasmania, but it's not necessary to be in your nominated occupation. It should be full time. but that should be like minimum skill level 1 to 3. If you want to get the invitation straight away, you can still apply if your occupation is level 4 or 5, but they will require that there should be a labor market testing evidence is provided that why they didn't employer didn't able to hire anyone from the local. So you need to make sure that like if you are applying based on the working criteria for 491, your occupation must be at least 1 to 3. So you have a good chance. So 4 or 5 you can still apply, but there will be more evidence is required in that category. And the third option, which usually I think less people eligible because it's immediate family member category. So in the immediate family member category, if you have any relatives who are permanent resident or citizen in Australia from at least last 1 year, and like staying in Tasmania from last 1 year, they can nominate you for 491 from their Tasmania state. So immediate family member can be like parent, child, uncle, aunt, brother, sister. So here they don't consider first cousin. Like whereas in 491 family sponsorship, they consider like first cousin, but in Tasmania category for family member, they don't consider first cousin. And even your in-laws, like your partners, if your partner is not primary applicant, but if their brother and sisters are living over there, then you're not eligible in that category. So you need to see how you relate with your family member over there. And the last one, which is like a small business category. So small business category require that you should be operating a business there for at least 6 months. And that business should run in a way that you are earning minimum 53,900, which will make meet intern like at last requirement for permanent residency later on for 191. And they will also require a business plan in that category. So if you justify that your business is like really good and you can earn that much money, and that business is something different than what Tasmanian government like need. So for example, like if you're just opening fast food service, or like if you're doing a business for taxi, Uber driving, something like that, they will not accept that one. That should be something different, which can be acceptable by Tasmania government, like not a common business. And you need to project your financials as well, so that like they will consider that you're meeting minimum 53,900 requirement. So these are like 4 criteria for 4 categories for 491, and even like as I discussed for 19. So there are good options for any occupation. At least you can apply for 491 at the end in Tasmania. So if anyone's struggling like for an accountant or for an IT, for an engineer, if you want to, if you're planning to move in Tasmania, you need to make sure that you are studying something which is in high demand in Tasmania currently. So for example, previously what applicants made a mistake that everyone moved in Tasmania, but they just choose the study of diploma management, leadership management, and project management. Now Tasmanian government reached to the limit where they don't want to nominate an applicant who have same skills. So they want to diversify applicants in their state. So that's why they might refuse a nomination if they have similar kind of studies applicants in their state. Yes.
Right. Thanks, Nirav. There was very detailed discussion about Tasmanian state nomination. I believe it's all about the commitment. So as long as you are committing yourself to the state authority to leave there, they will be giving you the state nomination in the future, as long as you meet the skill demand list as well. So next question is coming from Victoria. It's very straightforward question and very hot topic at the moment. Bachelor of Nursing. This client is finishing the Bachelor of Nursing from TAFE next year. What are the options as in Bachelor of Nursing? Harjit, you just want to quickly go through the options for registered nurse in Victoria?
Yes, it's a really very hot topic at the moment because of this pandemic going on, COVID-19. Victoria, they're very kind to the nurses they are working, and nurses they are recently graduated, right? And actually, there are many clients, they have completed their Bachelor of Nursing, for example, in December or January, and their visa, current student visa was about to expire in March. And before they even apply for TR, they have applied straight for PR because they got the skill assessment from NMAC after getting the APRA registration done. Straight away, they apply for Victoria by showing that their current visa is going to expire, and they apply for PR rather than applying for TR. I would say, like, if anybody is recent graduate or about to be recent graduate, hopefully they will be getting invitation from Victoria as soon as they finish their qualification after getting the APRA and the NMAC skill assessment done. It's as I can say, before this pandemic, Victoria, they used to require job offer in as a registered nurse, like you are working in Victoria. If I would say the question coming from any other state, that they have completed their bachelor's in any other state, interstate like New South Wales or in Queensland or anywhere else, still they are eligible to apply Victoria, but they must move to Victoria before they apply. Because at the moment, Victoria is asking for the address evidence. Like either they have to show the lease agreement, either they have to show any sort of like bank statement or any utility bills, which will explain, which will show their evidence that they have currently moved. Even though they have moved today, they can apply on the same day or tomorrow. They don't they don't have to stay in Victoria for 1 month and wait before they apply. I would strongly suggest them to apply straight away as soon as they move to Victoria, because they can straight away change their bank statement, straight away they can sign the lease agreement, straight away, they can show that sort of evidences that they are residing in Victoria. If anybody is completing their bachelor, as the question was, I am completing bachelor next year or this year in December, I would wish them luck, that hopefully the same thing is going on in Victoria, or else they start finding a job in Victoria as a RN, so that they can easily get invitation from Victoria. Victoria, they do have two kind of a list. One is recent graduate, another one is a Victorian occupation list for all the occupations. Recent graduate, they do consider nurses, they do consider some occupations such as agriculture technician, agriculture scientist, they do consider some sort of engineering occupations. Obviously, if anybody want to take that opportunity, they must take it, but please do consult any expertise so that they can give you advice which list you are eligible for.
Thanks, Sajid. It's very common discussion at the moment with the registered nurse in Victoria. So definitely they do have the options for the state nomination, which is good. So they don't have to explore options for different state. So next question is coming from South Australia here. Is basically Miss Kaur is graduating as an enrolled nurse. What are the options? So I'll go to Vishali and see what options she will have as an enrolled nurse. Vishali?
Sure. So if she's graduating in July, the first thing she will have to do is apply for registration and skill assessment from ANMAC. And then she may be required to furnish evidence of 3 months employment as an EN. Now, this requirement of 3 months experience may be waived off, because in July, they usually shuffle the list and there may be a waiver provision available if she has a score of 7 on IELTS or equivalent. But then if the quota is full, she will need to go with the 3 months of experience. This experience may be part-time, at least 40 hours a fortnight if she's an SA graduate. So yeah, either with 3 months of experience or without 3 months of experience, she would qualify for 491 once she has a skill assessment done.
Okay, so she does have a 491 option in South Australia as long as she meets it.
Yeah, it's currently closed for 190. The only option that has been most of the times available is 491 for EN.
Correct, yeah. Thanks, Vishali. Just hanging there. The next question is coming from South Australia itself. So basically, this client has moved from Brisbane. He has completed 2 years, 2 semesters in Brisbane, and then moved for rest of the studies, which is masters in software engineering. So what are the options for 190 if he wants to explore the option for 190?
Okay, now South Australia is a bit selective for those who have come from other states to study here. They usually look at the last 10 years history. So if you have worked, studied, or lived in other states in the last 10 years, you would generally be eligible only for 491. So considering your 2 months, 2 semester study in other state, you would usually be eligible only for 491. You still have an option of expressing your interest for 190. You can submit a commitment statement where you need to identify what would be the strongest commitment for 190. Let's say if you have immediate family members or exceptional job employment prospects, if you have spent longer time in South Australia compared to other states, they may consider. But yeah, in most of the cases, it's not that easy. You should be ready for 491. If not for 190, but it doesn't mean that you will be prevented from submitting the statement. You will have to meet other requirements, like have to provide skill assessment, have to meet the work experience requirement. But for 491, it has to be at least 3 months of experience, if not for 190.
Yep. Thank you, Vishali. So next question is from New South Wales, Vaibhav. This client has finished or finishing RN, the bridging program, very soon. And what are the options in New South Wales if she wants to apply for any visas in New South Wales as a registered nurse?
Okay, so once you complete your bridging program, I'm sure you still have to apply for registration with AFRA. And then once you obtain the registration, you have to go for NMAX skills assessment. And once you obtain the skills assessment, again, the details are incomplete here because we don't know what points you'll be standing at. But if I'm assuming that you can reach to 85 or higher points by itself, then you still have a good chances for a subclass 190 in New South Wales. And if you can reach at 90 points, then obviously you still have a good chances to get 189. Right? If you do have a relative, you can apply for a 491 family sponsorship. Now, as you can see, recently we have seen that the nurses has been invited with 85 points, including the state's 5 points in New South Wales. So there are chances that you can also get 190, but it really will depend on your points. If not, then obviously we'll have to look at the alternative options, as my colleagues have already disclosed, the state nomination options for nurses and for all the occupations technically. So I would say that yes, if you can collect points where you can reach at least 85, including 190 state nomination points for New South Wales, the client would still have a good chances to get a PR while staying in Sydney itself. If not, then obviously you can consider moving to Canberra or Victoria, or depending on where you can find the employment, move to that particular state and meet the state nomination criteria for that particular state.
Correct. Yeah. I'll go to Malay on this question. I believe registered nurse is part of the Queensland state nomination list as well for regional sponsored visa. Malay, do you want to say anything about this program?
Yes, recently, like they closed for 190 visas, but still they are open for 491 visas. If you're just 3 months of experience, you can eligible to apply for 491 visa for nurse. But recently I did apply with couple of applications just within a 1 month experience. Still Queensland has accepted their application, and they have invited for 491 visa. Like the criteria is for 3 months, but recently this COVID-19 pandemic, they are like, liberal with the nurses currently. Like Harjit said, for the Victoria, it's easy to get the nomination from Victoria. So it's same in Queensland. Even if you have like 2 or 3 months experience in regional, straight away apply for this nurse 491 visa state nomination, and you will straight away get it. And within a week, like they are a bit faster as well. Like I did apply for a couple of applications. They have invited within 2 days for the documents, and I submitted the documents straight away, and they got the final invitation within a day. I'm just talking about last week. So nurses, they are very they have good opportunity if you're working in regional Queensland.
Right.
Can I just add to that? The same thing in Queensland. So I had a nurse obviously from here. She had an auntie in Queensland, 491, family sponsored, got the invitation. Long story short, submitted everything, used up all the maximum attachments, lodged it, 35 minutes, 491 granted.
Wow.
Go figure that out. Queensland obviously needs nurses.
Yeah. Yes, Queensland is quick at the moment for the nurses.
Yeah.
I guess most of the states are sponsoring the health professionals. So definitely all state migration programs are supporting the health professionals and health occupations. So definitely it's good options for all the registered nurse, all the other medical occupations if the state has their occupation in the list. The next question is from Victoria. So this person has a similar profile like the previous client. I believe she has finished the bridging program. She's currently doing the graduate diploma in nursing from IHM Institute in Melbourne, which will be completing in July. She's asking what are the options for Victoria if she wants to apply for Victoria 190 or any other options. For this topic, I'll go to Nirav, if that's okay, with Arjit, just to discuss about 190 in Victoria for this kind of profile.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, Tejas. So actually, as an applicant studied, studying graduate diploma in nursing, right? And if they're doing a bridging program here, so like as Harjit mentioned that there is a category like recent graduate and a normal occupation list. So for recent graduate occupation, they require that they should have studied minimum 2 years in Australia to be eligible. So, but graduate diploma generally is for 1 year. So they most likely may not be eligible for the 190 in recent graduate category. But even registered nurse is part of the like the other occupation as well, other occupation list category, but they require 2 years of experience along with that. So if she has like studied Bachelor of Nursing overseas, and if she has an experience overseas 2 years in nursing, then she can apply for 190 expression of interest in that category as well. But definitely they will invite maybe at higher points around 80 or
Eligible to apply for 491 visa for that.
yeah. So that's why like in these situations, you can also try to get a job offer later in regional Victoria. So she might be eligible for the 491 category straight away rather than waiting for the 190.
Right. Thanks, Nirav. I believe she can also explore options for New South Wales if she moves there, or any other state if she works there as well. So she can have multiple options depending on her points and the profile and stuff, obviously. So the next question is coming from New South Wales, Vaibhav. It's regarding occupation materials engineer. He's looking for basically options with 70 points. What do you recommend to this applicant with 70 points?
So I would recommend that, because obviously you're at 70 points and very far away from the cutoff that has been running out for last 3 months. So if you see the cutoff for last 3 invites since January as well, or even if you consider last 6 months or 12 months reports, the cutoff remained very high, and you're very far from the cutoff for 189 and 190. So I would definitely recommend that, at least, let's say you can apply for a skills assessment as an engineering technologist, probably move to Canberra, work there for 6 months and try and collect points for under the Canberra metrics by working full-time, studying there. And you don't have to work in your nominated occupation, as my colleague Parth mentioned, that even if you are in any occupation which is open on the list, and if you want to apply for a subclass 190, you just have to simply prove that you've been working 6 months continuously in Canberra. So I would, in this kind of profiles, I would definitely recommend moving to Canberra and see if they can apply for 190 in Canberra.
Right. Thanks, Vaibhav. So the next question is coming from Northern Territory. So I'll go to Parth to discuss about this option. So basically, this applicant is working in an occupation as an accounts payable. What his question is basically if he can apply for the 491 in accounting field through this occupation or not, and what will be your recommendation to this applicant?
Okay. For Northern Territory, the basic requirements, there are 2 pathways. If you have studied for at least 2 years in any institution in Northern Territory, that can be Charles Darwin University or any other CRICOS registered course in any other institution. If you have studied there for 2 years, then you are eligible for 190. Or if you have worked for 6 months full-time in nominated occupation, then you are eligible for 190 or 491. So if you have studied for 2 years, or simple option is if you have studied for 2 years, or if you have worked for 6 months full-time in your nominated occupation, then you are eligible for 190 or 491. Now, lots of clients actually ask us that, okay, if they have the same requirement for 190 or 491, why someone will apply for 491? That I understand, but then it also depends on some other factors, such as for 190, the basic minimum points requirement from your side is 60 and state can sponsor maximum of 5 points. For 491, minimum requirement from your side is 50 and state can sponsor 15 points. So there are applicants who might not be able to score 60 points by themselves, and that's where they might have to look for 491, even if they are eligible for 190 in terms of like meeting the minimum requirement of 2 years of study or 6 months of full-time job in the nominated occupation. That's one of the basic difference. Secondly, Northern Territory, when you are looking at 190, they wanted to see the commitment to that state. So if you have studied there for 2 years, I have seen that it's like very high chances, very close to 100%, you can say. That's where they sponsor you for 190 if you have studied there for 2 years. If you have worked for 6 months full time, and if you still prove that you have good commitment to that state by showing that you have family ties there, or you got some other kind of ties, such as your employer is providing you a contract for maybe a year of time, something like that, then also there are high chances that they can offer you 190. If they are not convinced with your application because of your supporting documentation, say, or when you are saying that you are working as accounts officer, suppose, then they can, instead of nominating you for 190, they can nominate you for 491. And when your question is that am I eligible, or what are my chances for 491, for sure I'll say that if you are working as an accounts officer, you will have for sure very high chances that you will be nominated, because I have done profiles where applicant was not working in even closely relevant to accounting. That is even not as a payroll officer or accounts officer. They have worked in maybe like Woolworth store, suppose, and I've applied for the state nomination in past and I have got that. So what they generally look at is, I have spoken to them once recently, and they have said that we look at mainly the commitment to the state. So if you haven't worked, work for suppose 6 months full time, but if you have at least stayed there for 6 months, and you are in terms of like suppose your visa is expiring soon, and you just work for 4 months, you are not able to work for 6 months full, then you can show them a commitment that, okay, look, my employer is giving me a job. You can provide a letter from the employer saying that, okay, this person, like we have a shortage in our company, suppose, and this person is highly qualified. We want him to be working with our company, something like that. With a strong statement from the employer, you can still apply, and there are high chances that they can sponsor you. Now, when I spoke with them last time, they said that the standard requirement is 2 years of study or 6 months of full-time job. If you have done that, for sure, very high chances. If you are not meeting the requirement, still they can consider the application, but then it will be a case-to-case basis application where you have to show your commitment, your employability factors, and then your maybe other ways, such as like you can provide statement from your employer where they says that, okay, you have a specialized skills which they are not able to find from local market, something like that. They can still consider the application, and they have granted the applications as such in past as well. So it's not advisable when you are not meeting that 6 months factor or 2 years of study, but you don't have any options, such as because your visa is expiring soon, or you are missing the points because of your age factor, something like that. You can even apply before you meet that requirement, and you can explain the scenario, and there are high chances, to what I believe, that they will be processing your application, because I have seen that they have been receiving lesser applications. So they can still sponsor you as in for maybe 491, if not 190.
So while you're discussing about NT, I'll cover up the next question, which is also about the Northern Territory. This applicant has completed 1.5 years of study. So he hasn't completed the 2 year studies. What are his options for 190 if he wants to apply for 190? Do you think he will get the 190 nomination, or he will be required to only accept the 491?
Look, in this case, as I said, if you're not meeting the standard guidelines, then there is a possibility that they may not offer you 190 at least. They can offer you 491 though. That is, if you, because I have seen in past as well, when I spoke with a actually assessor last time, they said that in past, like a year before, I have seen cases where the applicant just like finished 1 year of study in Northern Territory, but because they were working in the similar field, and their employer said that we want this person to be working with us full time, and because he don't have the full time work rights, that applicant was still sponsored when he was not meeting that 2 years of study requirement. So when you are saying that I haven't met 2 years of study requirement, you just completed 1.5 years of study, you can still apply, but the chances of getting 190 might be tricky. They may offer you 491. If you are saying that my visa is expiring soon or something like that, then they may consider your application if you provide a strong letter from your employer saying why they need you in the business and why you cannot wait for another 6 months, something like that, because you might still have option of going for a student extension visa and you complete remaining 6 months of study, something like that. But then if you are saying that, okay, I'm losing points for something which you might not be able to score later on, something like that, then there may be possibility that they may offer you state nomination, but chances of getting 190 will be a bit lesser because you are not meeting the basic requirements, plus they have a bit lower quota for 190 as well. But high chances that they can nominate you for 491 if you provide them a good employment opportunity.
So what you're saying is basically you're creating your profile with your skills, your English, your employment chances, your commitment towards the state. Build up that profile to present the case to the Northern Territory Migration NT, and then you can explore your options if it's going to work out for 190 or if it's going to work out for 491.
Yes. So it's like on the website, it clearly states 6 months full-time job is required. But I have seen applicants who has worked part-time even for suppose 4 months, 5 months, but because that was very maybe closely relevant to their occupation, or when the employer said that we are not able to find any employer, any applicant as such, and because that business has been operating in Northern Territory since long, they have a good history in past, and that's where they have considered that kind of applications as well. But the assessor said that this will be on a case-to-case basis, and we cannot give you any kind of assurity before you apply for the nomination. It's your choice if you wanted to apply for the state nomination, but They will look into your application, your commitment, and they can still nominate you even if you're not meeting the basic requirement which is mentioned on their website.
Okay, okay. No, that's fine. Thanks, Parth. So next question is coming from Victoria about the recent graduate from engineering technologist. So I'll go back to Harjit to ask what's his options as an engineering technologist for 190. He's asking, is there any demand on this occupation?
Engineering technologist, yes. As I mentioned earlier, Victoria, they do have two occupation lists. One is for recent graduate, another one is for the Victoria like occupation list for all other occupations, as mentioned on their website. Right, for Victorian graduate, if he has a skill assessment as an engineering technologist, then we need to look like he got a skill assessment as an engineering technologist, and what was his qualification in Australia. If his qualification, as I said earlier, his qualification is related to the skill assessment, like he hasn't completed any sort of qualification in Australia, which is like in any occupation. Like for example, his bachelor was in mechanical, or bachelor was in electrical or telecommunication, and his master was in professional engineering, and he got a skill assessment as an engineering technologist on the basis of bachelor's, and he want to apply with a job offer, then Victoria, they won't consider it because his qualification is not relevant to his skill assessment. His qualification in Australia, which is he is recent graduate, has to be relevant to his skill assessment. That's how he's going to get invitation from Victoria, even though he has a job offer, even though he's working in that particular field. Still, Victoria, they do consider minimum 2 years of study relevant to the skill assessment in engineering.
Right, right. Thanks, Ajit. So that he does have an option if his qualification in Victoria is basically related to engineering technology.
If he has completed bachelor's in engineering, you know, then obviously he would be available, he would be eligible for Victoria job offer nomination. Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's fine. So next question is going back to New South Wales, Vaibhav. This applicant, Ms. Gina, has finished Masters in IT, and she's got 90 points as a business analyst, and 190 she has lodged the expression of interest at 95 points. She's waiting offshore. Do you think any chances to apply or get the invitation for 189 or 190?
Thanks, Tejas. Yes, I've gone through the details of that question. So yes, definitely, you know, if you see the cutoff for March invitation round at 90 points for Subclass 189, the cutoff was somewhere, I think, close to December. So I'm sure that you would have lodged an EOI somewhere in last 2-3 months time. So definitely, not if not in this financial year, after July, when the number of invitation goes up to, let's say, close to 1,000 a month, you do have a chances of getting this invitation for Subclass 189. Now, for Subclass 190, you would not be, probably not be invited, because if you see the criteria for Subclass 190 in New South Wales says that for ICT business analyst that you must have 1 year of work experience in New South Wales, which is because you are offshore, you cannot apply for, you cannot qualify for that one. And for Subclass 491, there is again, the state nomination is for ICT business analyst. I don't think it's open for offshore candidates. So yes, but if you if you have 90 points, I would say definitely you still have a very good chances to get invited in Subclass 189.
Right, right. Thanks, Vaibhav. So next question will be going to Vaishali. This client, Ms. Kaur, has finished Diploma of Nursing from TAFE. She's just waiting for the final placements as an enrolled nurse. Her visa is expiring in January 2021. She's asking if she required 3 months of experience and what are the options in the future for her PR.
Yeah, sure. So once she graduates, she will need to apply for registration assessment, and then she will need 65 points at least to qualify for a 491 nomination. It depends whether she needs 3 months of experience or not on the state's list. So in July, there is a chance they may take out this 3 months of experience, but if not, she will need to work as an EN for 3 months part-time. And then after 491, of course, there is a pathway after 3 years. I don't think it will be open for 190 this soon. So 491 is kind of on the list, yeah.
Correct. So she will be required to work for 3 years, and then she can apply for 191 after 3
For
years.
191 after 3 years, yeah. She just has to meet an income of 54,000 every year, either she or her partner, and then she qualifies for the next visa.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks, Charlie. So next question is about social work. So this client, again, Miss Kaur is studying bachelor or master. She hasn't specified that. She's just finished the social work studies. What are the options for PR? I'll go to Nirav this time. Nirav, if you can elaborate, what are the options for the social worker occupation?
Yes, yeah. So for social worker, actually, that's available, as we know that it's a medium and long-term skilled occupation list. So like she can apply for 189, 190, 491, but as like she didn't specify like where she has studied and like how many points she has. So social work is currently available in Victoria as well, but they require like certain years of experience, and they're inviting at like maybe more than 65 points applicants. But if she does not have the experience, then like there are like very less chance that she will get the invitation for 190. But if she get a job offer later, again, like in regional Victoria, she has a good chance to get the invitation. And as like we already discussed about all other states requirement, so mostly like for all of the occupation, it's like almost the same requirement. So we need to see like how many points you have, and if you're planning to move in other state, then like we can definitely check it. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Nirav. Malay, what do you recommend about this applicant regarding some options in Queensland? If you have any.
For the social worker, they come under the recent masters category. So if they have done masters in social work from Queensland, any of the university, if they have a job offer letter for next 12 months, they can straight away apply for 190 or 491 visa. Now, if you have like currently, like if you have a job offer letter, so today you are not eligible as Queensland is closed. But as I mentioned earlier, it will be reopened in July. So you need to wait for July, and you have to apply for the 190 visa in July for the social worker if you are currently working full time.
Right. So for social worker, do they have any options without being a straight graduate?
If you're not a state like a recent graduate from Queensland, you come under the working category. So you need to provide 6 months of experience full time, 35 hours a week, and you need to work. You need to have a job offer letter for further 12 months from the employer. So if your employer is providing you the 12 months of contract letter, and if you're currently working full time, you are still eligible if you have completed a study from any other state in Australia.
Right. So I guess similar options in Victoria as well. If they have a full-time job offer in regional Victoria, they can apply for the 491.
I just want to add one more thing about the social work. I was recently doing some research about the social worker. Like it is open for 491 category in New South Wales. Like Vaibhav maybe know about that option. Like the most of the universities in like regional New South Wales, if you complete your social work from that university, and once you get the registration done, you can straight away apply for, like you can get the skill assessment. You can straight away apply for 491 visa, because 491 New South Wales category, if you have completed 2 years study in New South Wales, you can straight away apply for the 491 visa without any offer letter. So there are university of that Southern Queensland. Yep, like USC in South like that Lismore campus. Even they have the course in some other university in regional area for the New South Wales as well.
Right, but I believe the 491 in New South Wales hasn't been started yet, right, Vaibhav?
That's correct. So the government actually announced that they were going to start in February 2020, but unfortunately, I guess they were not going to. They're not likely to start the nomination program for 491 in this financial year, and you might only look at July, hopefully, for the 491 nomination to open.
Right. Thanks, Vaibhav. So next question is very generic question about PT, the validity of the PT. So I'll answer that question myself. It's valid for 3 years for the graduate visa, 485. So if you have done it in 2017, you can still use it until end of 2020 if it's within 36 months for your graduate visa. The one after that is basically going towards South Australia, back to Vishali. This applicant, Mr. Jai, has finished master's in IT. He's asking if he's eligible for 190 if he has worked in IT for 8 weeks and his current contract expires on 30th of September. Sorry, 8 months, and his current contract expires on 30th of September.
Yeah, so for 190, the requirement is you should have worked here for at least 1 year if you are not a graduate, or even if you are a graduate. So let's say if you have not migrated from other state, you would definitely qualify after you have worked here for at least 12 months. So I think you have time until September. If you complete 12 months part-time employment in the nominated occupation, you do qualify for 190.
Right. Thanks, Vishali. The next question coming from Western Australia, Daminderji, basically, Mr. Mand is an Australian citizen. He's living in regional Western Australia. His real brother is living in New Zealand for 4 years, and he has completed level 5 and level 6 business diploma in New Zealand. He's currently employed in New Zealand as a retail manager for more than 3 years. He has an employment opportunity as a restaurant manager or transport company manager in Western Australia. Do you reckon he can apply, or what are his options in Western Australia?
What does the rest of the panel think? Because this is not a 491 or a 190 question. We all know that. It's probably the longest question that we have, and is the furthest from New Zealand at the same time.
That's right.
No, but it looks more like he's got a sponsorship, which is good. So he's looking at a 482 perhaps, which is a very straightforward thing. He's got a sponsorship available already. Just needs to show that he can meet the requirements from whatever the 482 is, which is a completely different thing than what we are talking about for the rest of them. This kind of question, Tejas, happy to not just have it on this kind of medium, but we can take it offline. We can discuss this a little bit more detail as to the nuts and bolts of how a sponsorship works.
Yeah, I would like to add there. So in this kind of cases, I would recommend that this person should apply for a skills assessment as a retail manager. And if that person has 3 years of full-time work experience as a retail manager, we can, and then as he said, he's got a restaurant to sponsor. You can definitely justify a restaurant having a retail manager and sponsor a subclass 494 visa.
In the current climate, yes, perhaps. But knowing the industry the way it is, it might just probably hit a roadblock. So you'd be better off to just go to a 482, just try to say, hey, I need this, I'm going to justify that. The options are there for them. 494 definitely is on, without fail. But a 482...
The other way is, yes, as you said, the other way is getting the 482 as a restaurant manager, complete 2 years, renew it for another 2 years, complete the 3 years of work experience, then get the skills assessment as a restaurant manager, then get a 494, and then apply for 191. Yes, that's also possible.
But the interesting thing is, conflict of interest. This is his own brother, and he wants to sponsor.
Does it say that the brother is the?
No, it doesn't say that it's in his own business or anything. But he says there is a potential sponsorship available for restaurant manager or transport company manager.
Okay.
There's definitely an option for 482, 494 employer-sponsored visas, or eventually 491 if in the different state and stuff. But as Damendra has already mentioned, it's better for him to have detailed discussion on his profile. One to have the better options rather than being.
You just don't want to have a situation where he says we have sponsorship. I'm thinking, is he sponsoring? That's a roadblock straight away, because they'll be like, yeah.
We need more information actually, so we should recommend the client to come back to.
This question, I would say it's more towards employer-sponsored category rather than the GSM itself. If Mr. Mand, if you are watching this Facebook Live, I would recommend you to get in touch with Mr. Damendra. He can go through detailed options, including the GSM as well as the employer-sponsored 482 or the 494 for you. The next question is coming from Victoria itself. I'll go to Harjeet. So this Ms. Kaur is asking regarding the Victorian family sponsorship, the 491 visa. She's asking if the employer must be living in regional area since 1 or 2 years or not to sponsor her under the 491 relative sponsored category.
Look, 491 is not just for Victoria, it's family sponsor. 491 is not just for Victoria, it's for Australia itself. Government has provided a list of designated area or regional areas. And in that particular state, whichever state, if they're living in Victoria, then we need to check are the relatives are living in that regional area or a designated area for a usual. They are saying usually. Usually there is no such kind of a definition we can say. There is no such kind of a time limit. but it's obviously up to the case officer to decide. It's not like they just today jump into the regional area or any designated area and they are trying to prove that they are living over there. Obviously, case officer is the one who will be deciding on the case-by-case basis. They will find out from all the kind of all the kind of a paperwork that you guys are giving it to them, like such as the driving license, utility bills, lease agreement, or obviously a job. I'm talking about the sponsor. Like a person, the applicant does not have to be living in the regional or designated area when you're applying for 491 family sponsor, right? But a person who is sponsoring you, he or she must be living in a regional or designated area, for a time being. There is no such kind of a definition in a legislation that they are saying you must be living for limited that period of time, but they need to show their commitments. Like sponsor has to sign a commitment, a statutory declaration that I'm living in a regional area, I am sponsoring my relative, and I'll be the one who will be responsible for all sort of his movement to that particular place. Again, the person does not have to be moved exactly to the same suburb. He or she can move to any suburb. After the 491 visa grant, the list is provided by immigration on the internet, a designated area or regional area list. After the visa grant, you have to move there. Not at the time of application, not during the time of application.
Ajit,
after the visa grant, you have to move there.
The question I understand is basically the sponsor. So the sponsor who is sponsoring the applicant under 491 relative sponsored, have they been required to live in regional area for more than 1 or 2 years in particular?
No, as I said, there is no such kind of a legislation which will say.
So they just need to be established in the regional area before they can sponsor.
They need to show the usual residency in regional area by showing all of their bills and all. Yeah.
Right. While you are there, I will ask you the same question for Victoria. Is basically there is a client who applicant who have finished the network engineering from RMIT. He's asking what are his options for graduate pathway in IT occupations in Victoria, if there is anything available in Victoria.
Look, there's no such kind of a graduate pathway at the moment for IT occupation. Yes, there is another list for IT occupations in Victoria. Like if he has completed a master's in network, as you are saying, then he needs to get a skill assessment as a computer network engineer. If he has completed master's here in networking, and obviously has completed bachelor in overseas, and he does have an experience minimum of 3 years, then he can apply to Victoria nomination. But Victoria nomination for IT occupation especially, you cannot apply like on the Victoria website itself. You have to apply just an EOI. Victoria will invite you, and then you need to submit the application later on. Okay. Victoria, at the moment, inviting people in IT occupation, minimum of 85 plus points, right?
And they should be having some certain years of experience as well, right?
Minimum 3 years of experience in networking, and other occupations, obviously, they have mentioned the experience as well.
Right. Thanks, Ajit. Next set of questions is going towards back to Vaibhav for New South Wales. Basically, this client has finished enrolled nursing in New South Wales with 80 points. She's asking what are her options if she wants to apply for 190 in New South Wales.
So for 190 New South Wales enrolled nurse, it is listed as in the 190 priority list. However, obviously, we haven't seen any invite at 80 points in last 6 months' time for enrolled nurse. So I wouldn't really say that you do have a very good chances or not, because it's something that, the statistics doesn't suggest that you will be likely to, or you're likely to get an invite. I would highly recommend looking into other state nomination options, as we have explained, like, let's say, probably considering South Australia or regional Victoria, or even considering Canberra. I guess even Western Australia would have some options for, my colleague, probably Dharminder, can put in inputs if there is any option for enrolled nurse in Western Australia. But I guess the state does have the options.
Yeah, but the sound of things, South Australia seems to be more attractive than anything else.
Yes, that's
Oh,
correct.
enrollments. That was very, yeah.
Vishali can give you more details about South Australia, but as far as I know, if they are not from South Australian graduate category, then they will be required to move here and work here for 12 months, right?
That's
Correct.
Yeah, so either 1.5 years study in enrolled nursing and 3 months experience, or 1 year employment.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
She's brilliant.
There's a couple of questions regarding 491 in New South Wales. They're asking if you have any inputs, when are they going to be opening the 491?
As I said before, the 491 is likely to hopefully open up in July. I guess this financial year, we have not seen any update from the NSW government about the 491 since February. They've just updated once that we will soon update the website once we open up, but then there is no news. And I guess they're now busy with handling the COVID-19 situation, and it's likely the government is likely to open up only after July.
Right. So do you think once they open up, they will be sponsoring accounting who is working in the regional area in New South Wales?
Yes. So accountant is listed as one of the occupation under the 491 working in regional New South Wales list. So they have two lists, skill list 491, list 1 and list 2. So if you're on list 1 and if you're working there in regional New South Wales and living in regional New South Wales for last 12 months, in your nominated occupation or closely related occupation, you can apply for a subclass 491. And the question, I've gone through the question as well. I believe that in July, you're likely to qualify for a 491, even though, and the client's question was whether they need 7 each or not. If you do have a skills assessment, I don't think you'll need 7 each.
So is it right to think that a lot of people are in a holding pattern right now in anticipation for that, perhaps?
Yeah. Even I do have, I think, 5 to 10 applications already ready to go as soon as they open up.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Right. So we are in. So we believe that it will be open up in next financial year. They are less likely to start in this financial year.
That's in about 3-4 months, isn't it? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So thanks, Vaibhav. The next question is regarding Victoria itself. Can a student visa holder apply for 491 in Victoria? I have a friend who's got a refusal because he was working part-time under student visa. I want to know if, because I hold student visa as well, can government refuse with this particular reason? I'll go to Nirav this time to explain the 491 in Victoria. What is the current requirements?
Yes, so for 491 Victoria, as like we mentioned earlier, that the applicant needs to have full-time job offer letter. But here the question asked that like if they're on student visa, they can only work part-time, right? So what can be done in that situation? So even if you're working part-time, that's still fine. Like you can provide that you're working part-time 20 hours per week, but the employer is happy to like give you the full-time hours once you get a 491. So you can put that condition in your contract. So after like getting the visa for 491, they are happy to give you 35 hours per week or more than that. And definitely like they have a good chance to get the invitation. So we are not sure like basically what particular reason in his friend case, but usually we didn't receive any refusals where they say that like you are working part-time and that's the reason like we are refusing it. But they might have offered the contract on a part-time basis in future as well. That could be one of the reasons to get a refusal. So as long as if they have a full-time offer letter, they are good to go.
Right. Thanks, Nirav. While you're there, I will ask you the next question, which is related to Victoria as well. So this applicant has finished master's. He's going to finish the master's in telecommunication engineering, but from overseas, he has done bachelor's in electronics. He hasn't got any experience to apply for the state-sponsored visa. What are his options for the state nomination there?
So yeah, we already discussed about this option about engineering graduate. So if he's doing a Master of Telecommunication Engineering here, and he must have done bachelor in back as well. I think he didn't mention, but his bachelor supposed to be Bachelor of EC, Electronics and Communication. So he can get the skill assessment done as an engineering technologist and mention that his master here is highly relevant in skill assessment. And if you get a job offer later in either electronics or telecommunication, he has a good chance to get the invitation for 190.
Right. Thanks, Nirav. So the next question is going back to it's combined. Vaibhav, this client is based in Victoria, but she has studied in Newcastle. She's asking if she can claim the regional points.
Yes. So if you have studied and lived in regional area, so the client has mentioned that he or she studied in regional Newcastle in Newcastle in 2016-17. So it doesn't matter when you have completed your studies, but if you did live and work, if you did live and study in regional areas anywhere in Australia, basically, not only in Newcastle. Now the Newcastle has been added into the regional area. So if you have lived and studied in any post course which I mentioned online on designated regional area, certainly you can claim 5 points for regional study. So my answer is yes. Very straightforward.
Okay. Thanks, Vaibhav. So the next question is coming from Victoria as well. That the applicant has finished MBA and MPA from, I believe, Holmes as a dual degree. She's 29 years of age, asking for PR options. I'll go to Parth this time. Just quickly explain what are these options basically.
Yeah, sure. If you have studied accounting in Australia and Victoria, first option will be 189 visa, where you have to score high points, as Vaibhav mentioned earlier, 95 or higher. If you have, then you may think of having chances of invitation. With 95 points, people are waiting for nearly 1 year. So if you are able to score 95 now, you might have to wait longer, or you might not be invited at all, because your expression of interest is valid for 2 years. By the time your turn comes up, you might be expiring. So 95 or higher, if you can score, then you may think of waiting for 189. The other option is 491 for Victoria, where you need 1 year of full-time job offer outside of Melbourne. So if you find any employer operating in regional Victoria for at least past 2 years, and if they're happy to offer you 1 year full-time job, that is 38 hours a week, 38 hours a week, then you might be able to apply for 491 Victoria. If not, you are required to look at some other state nomination, that is maybe going to Tasmania, going to South Australia, or Northern Territory. But the easiest I would be thinking of will be going to Northern Territory, or maybe Tasmania 491, or like looking at 2 year study option, then you can look at 190 as well for Tasmania or for Northern Territory. But otherwise, 491 for Tasmania is much more easier. If you are looking at any other state, Western Australia, 2 year study plus a job offer, so you'll have to invest at least 2 years. South Australia asks for 1 year of study plus 1 year of job in the accounting. Again, 2 years you'll have to invest. New South Wales.
I'll stop you there, Parth. So if the same question goes to Daminderji, so basically if the client moves to Western Australia for 2 year studies, she will have the option for 190 there, right?
Yeah, 2 years of study, absolutely. But then don't just study anything, isn't it? Because this is the part that really frustrates them. Oh, I've just finished studying. I wanted to get, because I was on the graduate occupation list, and God forbid, market forces dictate you're not on the list anymore. Yeah. They're going to come at you, and that's not going to be fun.
Right.
Right choice, but highly volatile.
Yeah. No, so there are a few options, including 189, 190, and the 491, as explained by Parth. Thanks, Parth.
Right.
So next question, there are a few questions about just generic questions asking to explain 491 and 190, which we have already covered. And then Mr. Chagandi from Tasmania asking to discuss about the Tasmanian state sponsorship, which already explained by Nirav in the detail earlier. So I would not be going that question again. There is a question coming from New South Wales regarding an occupation network admin and system engineering professional. He has got 4 years of experience. He's recently graduating. He has been working 6 months in the field. He's trying to do his PT, PY, everything. What are his options for the state-sponsored visas?
Okay, so if I assume that the client has completed a bachelor degree overseas as well in IT field, and as the client has mentioned that they have got 4 years of work experience overseas, then definitely, and the client is working currently as well in the nominated occupation. So I would recommend that get a skills assessment based on your overseas degree. Try to collect points through NATI and NATI and PTE, and at the same time study professionally, of course. You might make enough points for subclass 189 or 190, because I understand that your partner is not skilled, that you mentioned, but even if your partner is not skilled, you can compensate those points from overseas work experience and Australian work experience, and try and get 8 in PTE and NATI. That will compensate altogether to, let's say, it might contribute total to 90 points. If not, then once you complete professional year, you might be able to get 290 or more, right? And you still have a good chances to get 190 in New South Wales, even 189 in anywhere in Australia. Also, you might want to consider, because the client has asked whether there is any option for subclass 190 and 491. You would have plenty of options. I would say, going to regional Victoria, getting a job offer, going to Northern Territory and working 6 months in nominated occupation, getting either 190, as I said before, that they do on case-by-case basis give you 190, or if not 190, then they will definitely give you 491. So, and I guess Queensland would also be similar, where you can probably work and get a state nomination from them as well. Canberra, yes, if you're, if you have an organization where you're working for the organization where the organization size is more than 50 employees, you can also secure 491 or 190 from Canberra. So I would say the client would have multiple options for a state nomination. Even Tasmania, if I'm not wrong, Tasmania, if you work 6 months or study 1 year, you can also get the state nomination from there. You would have different options. Even regional New South Wales work 12 months, get a 491 from regional New South Wales too. But first of all, you need to work out whether how many points you are likely to reach by getting the skills assessment based on your overseas degree and work experience that you have already gained so far.
Right. Thanks, Vaibhav. Harjit, this guy, the next question is from Victoria itself. This applicant has finished Diploma of Nursing again from Victoria. His question is basically, what are his options if he can apply for 190 in Victoria or 491? If not as an enrolled nurse, can he do with the registered nurse in the future without job offer? Again, keeping this current situation in mind, obviously Victoria is sponsoring without job offer. But what are his options in the future if we talk about, let's say, after 6 months or after 12 months?
Look, as we all aware, like Diploma of Nursing, if he is completing, he already completed, then he needs to get a skill assessment as an EN and keep looking for a job offer, full-time job offer in regional area of Victoria. Meanwhile, he can continue his study like Bachelor of Nursing. And then as soon as he finishes Bachelor of Nursing, he can get his skill assessment done as a registered nurse. Then he can go for the Victoria state nomination as well. Like as per the current scenario, Victoria is giving the invitation without job offer as long as you have a registration and skill assessment done from NMEC. And straight away, Victoria takes approximately 1 month as per the current scenario to invite. Sometimes they invite within a couple of weeks. But a person at least should try for a regional area job offer. If he does not want to continue his study, if he's happy to continue study, then the registered nurse skill assessment and a job and Victoria nomination is the one there for him.
Right. Thanks, Ajit. So pretty much for RN, definitely a pathway for Victoria, but for enrolled nurse, he should be looking for options in regional Victoria.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll go to Vishali for next question. This applicant, Mr. Sharma, he's asking for 491 visa. His occupation is a telecommunication engineer. His sister is an Australian citizen in Australia. He's asking if he can apply for a family-sponsored visa or not.
Yeah, definitely. You can submit an EOI for the 491 family-sponsored visa, but then it will all depend on how many points you score. If you have 95 points, there is a chance of an invitation for the family-sponsored visa.
That's right. You talk about the chain migration in South Australia. What would be?
Yeah, for chain migration, I don't think it's possible, at least this financial year. It's currently closed for immediate family members. But yeah, you can wait until they change the list in July. If the occupation is open once again for the chain migration category, you need to make sure you have a skill assessment ready and you can apply straight away, even with 65 points.
Right, and he requires the 1 year experience in last 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for the chain migration, the work requirement has to be met. 1 year experience in the last 3 years, 65 points, and the pathway should be open. Yeah.
Right. So Vaibhav, I'm sure you are very popular today. There are a lot of questions coming from New South Wales. There's a chef with the 90 points, 1 year experience. Can he apply for one? But basically, he's mixing the questions with New South Wales and South Australia. So he's asking if he can apply for 190 at a high point category. So I'll quickly get an update from you. What are his options for New South Wales? And I'll ask Vishali what's his options for 190 in South Australia.
My question is like, where are these kind of clients? So ready to go. 90 points, man. Come on, you do have 90 points. You're likely to get an invitation in 189 as well as 190 in New South Wales. I don't think you need to move if you have 90.
There is a chance it could be 5 or 10 or 15 points, including the state nomination, right?
I would say still, 90 points for including 5 points from the state for subclass 190 is still not bad. But I guess the client's question is very clear here that 90 points for a chef for subclass 190. Most likely. So I would say, yes, definitely you don't have to move, man. Come on, you're at 90 points. you can't ask any better deal than this.
You're trying to retrain him in New South Wales itself, huh?
Not really. Actually, you can consider moving to another state. Like, you do have an option to go to South Australia and work there for 12 months, but you'll end up getting only 491, I guess. So still, the New South Wales is the best bet. I'm not really being, optimistic and conservative to keep the client in New South Wales, but I guess there is no benefit, and I always keep my client's interest over my interest in my advice.
Yeah.
Vaishali, what could be his options for 190? As I think you already discussed, less chances for 190, but
less chances for 190 unless he could prove his commitment. But then only working here for 1 year does not seem to be a very strong commitment. Everyone has to do that, so it's a kind of mandatory thing. It's not a very positive commitment towards the state. So it will be a 491.
I'll give it to. I'll give him back to Vaibhav to keep him in New South Wales itself. I guess more chances in New South Wales with 190 than South Australia. Yeah, sure. So next question to you, Vaishali, is Mr. Aussizz from South Australia asking if he's graduating soon. He's asking web developer for 190 requirement. He's basically asking how many points and what are his chances for 190.
Okay, so if you have always studied only in South Australia, and then if you have either studied here and then has 1 year of experience as a South Australian graduate, you qualify for 190. If you have studied here, no matter what field it is, but if you have worked here as a web developer, you have chances for 190. Yeah, all you need is 1 year of employment in South Australia, and you should have lived or studied or worked only and only in South Australia for a 190. Otherwise, it's going to be a 491.
Right. Thank you, Charlie. Harjit, the next question is from Victoria. So basically, this applicant is offshore. He's finished with his 485. He got the skill assessment as a chef. What are his options? He has 80 points. So as a chef, it's not too bad, 80 points. What could be his options if he doesn't have any employer to sponsor him to come back to Australia?
Look, a person who is on a 485 visa and it's already completed, that means at the moment he has no visa, right? He's just looking for any GSM option to come back to Australia, right? 80 points as a chef. If you want to get skill nomination from Victoria, then Victoria can only invite if he has minimum of 5 years of experience as a chef. Now, from here, I would consider sometimes some of the clients, Victoria, they clearly states like they invite people who has a 5 year of experience post-qualification. Sometimes some of the clients, they do complete some sort of experience during qualification. During qualification means they have completed their certificate 4 and diploma is going on. And during that period, they do have experience. And on 485 visa, again, they do have experience. At the moment, he's in India. We are not aware how long he's been in India for. He might be working again in his nominated field, right? We can consider that experience. He's offshore. Sorry, if he's offshore, he might be in any country. We might consider that experience if he's currently working in his nominated field. And that experience can be counted. Victoria never says 5 year experience in Australia. They say 5 year experience could be anywhere, right?
Correct.
Victoria 5 year experience is not full time. That is minimum 20 hours per week. Victoria do consider minimum 20 hours per week when you apply for a state nomination, right? That means during qualification and after qualification on 485, or while he's overseas working in his nominated field, can be considered towards his Victoria state nomination. He needs to provide minimum 5 year of experience to get 190. This is the one option. Second option, if he has any family member living in designated area or a regional area in Australia, and he has 80 points, which is like a very reasonable points to get 491 family sponsored, because it's going to be altogether 95 points, 80 plus 15 from family sponsor. Like last invitation round was a little bit too high. Before that, many applicants, they got invitation with 90 or 95 points on a family sponsored 491. That's his second option, right? Third option is if we get any job offer in Victoria regional area, as everybody mentioned earlier, minimum 38 hours per week, and that business is operating minimum 2 years in regional area of Victoria, then he can come here in Victoria, and live for minimum of 3 years and then apply. For
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so there could be different options in, I believe, New South Wales, Northern Territory, as well as
Other options. Other options are there for different state. As my colleague already explained, different state have got their different criteria. South Australia, Northern Territory, ACT, all state have got their own criteria. I have only mentioned the Victoria criteria. If he wants to come, one is just a normal one, which is 491 family sponsored. Anybody can apply. Second one is 190 Victoria with minimum 5 years of experience. Third one is 491, just a job offer. Even though he has only completed his job ready program, still he can come here in Victoria with a job offer and apply for 491, visa granted, back to Australia.
Right, right. Thanks, Arjit. So do you think, Parth, he can apply for Northern Territory as well, the 491?
Yes, if applicant is outside of Australia and if applicant has at least 1 year of experience within past 2 years or got the Australian qualification, they are eligible to apply. When they apply for the state nomination, they will have to show that they have good employment opportunity by applying for jobs or providing any responses from the employer that, okay, if like we are happy to hire you, or if you are in Northern Territory, we are happy to hire you, we are happy to give you part-time, full-time job, something like that. So if you provide employment opportunities by applying for the jobs or getting replies from the employer, that you can show and prove that, okay, I am qualified, that I can easily get a job when I resettle, when I relocate to suppose Northern Territory, and you're still eligible for 491.
Right. Thanks, Parth. So next question is coming from South Australia. Vishali, this client, Ms. Thapa, she's a registered nurse asking for 190 options in South Australia. What could be her pathway?
Yeah, so if you have registered yourself here in Australia, you have an option of 190 if you have always been a South Australian graduate and worked here for at least 1 year post-qualification, part-time, or else if you have worked here as a nurse, part-time. So if you have not studied here but worked here, it's fine. The only condition is you should not have moved from any other state. It would be very difficult for 190 if you have moved, but otherwise, yeah, either 1 year of employment in South Australia or study plus 1 year. That would fetch you 190.
Right. So she has that option, and she can also explore different options in different states if there is any job offer or anything involved.
Yeah, if you're a South Australian graduate, if you just get an offer, I mean, no need to wait for any further in that job, but you can definitely be eligible for 491 straight away with just an offer letter for a part-time job.
Right, right. So that could be an option as well if they don't want to wait for 12 months.
Yeah, it would be for 491.
All right. Do you have any options for them in regional Queensland?
For which occupation you're talking about?
Registered nurse.
Registered nurse, only 3 months experience required, as I said earlier. Like currently they are giving invitation even if you have less experience. Like couple of invitation we received with 2 months of experience only. So very good chance if you have an experience as a nurse in regional area in Queensland.
I think in our questionnaires, I think a lot of questions were coming from nurse. So I guess Australia would never have a shortage of nurses in near future. So next question, Vaibhav, is from South Wales, again similar to nursing. She's doing nursing in New South Wales, graduating in December 2020. She's asking what are the options in New South Wales. If not New South Wales, she's planning to move to Queensland next year. What do you recommend, keeping her to New South Wales or giving it to Malay in Queensland?
Right. So obviously that would depend on the situation at that time, because you're going to finish the course in December 2020. You have to look at what are the cutoff at that time for subclass 189 or 190 in New South Wales, first thing, because you have studied in New South Wales. If you can reach and collect points where 80 or 90 points or so, you can definitely consider staying in New South Wales. If you want to move to Queensland, yes, I think Queensland is also open for 190 in it might open up in July. Basically, it's currently closed, but the occupation is still there on Queensland State Nomination list for subclass 190 as well, where the applicant is required to complete 6 months of full-time work, or if they want to get a 491, they have to work 3 months. You also have an option of moving to Canberra, where you can complete 6 months of work as an RN and then get a 190 or 491 from ACT as well. Victoria would be also an option because you have recently graduated, so you will also qualify under a recent graduate list graduate list in Victoria, even without job offer as the Victoria is giving right now. But if not, then you might need the job offer just to move to Victoria and get a state option for 190, even 491. Then the Northern Territory would also be a good option. Tasmania would be also a good option. So basically, you have win-win situation everywhere, wherever you like to move. So I would say the first preference would be obviously keep it to New South Wales if you can collect the points. So that will save a hassle of moving to interstate. If not, obviously you got plenty of options to move around, like which is your preferred state to move, and where you can find the employment, probably move there. Simple as that.
Right, right. So I guess there has been a lot of questions about registered nurses, and so the conclusion is there are plenty of options for registered nurses, obviously, but there are also a lot of disappointed accounting graduates. So I'll go one by one to each of the panelists to discuss what are their opinions, or what are the suggestions for accounting graduates, what be eligible in any of the state migration programs. I'll start with Malay.
For the accounting graduates, currently that's nothing is open for the Queensland, but as soon as like they will open in July, new financial, they will come up with the new quota, and they will open only for a day or two. Like as soon as Queensland open, all the applications try to apply on the same day. So they straight away close on the same day or maybe next day. So within 24 hours, if you're eligible to apply, you have to apply. And for the eligibility, they need to have 1 year of experience total for the accounting, including 6 months full-time in Queensland for the 190 visas. And if you're applying for the 491 visas, if you are a recent graduate from Queensland University, you need only 3 months of experience. But if you are coming from interstate, they require to have 1 year of experience in total, including 3 months in regional Queensland area. So for accountant, there are very good opportunity if you are studied, like if you have completed your studies in Queensland, but if you're coming from like other states, they require to have at least one year of experience.
Do you recommend anything in particular for them to be ready before the next financial year starts?
Yes, this is the good time they can like ready with the skill assessment and their points for the PT as well. Like many of the applicants, they're struggling to get the 7H at the moment, and currently there are no dates for the PT available. So many of our clients, they are like, still waiting for the PT exams to be open. Like if the Queensland will be open in July, but they don't get the result for the PT, they won't be eligible to apply for this financial year because they only open for July, only one day a year. They won't open again and again, So they have to be ready with all the 70 points, like the requirements for the accountant is 70 points in the Queensland. So they have to open, like they have to get the 65 points by their own, and state will help you to get extra 5 points. So if you don't have 7H, you will not get the 65 requirements. So they have to complete their English core requirement, skill assessment, and as soon as the Queensland open, they have to straight away apply for the nomination and EOI.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Malay. I'll go to Daminderji. So what is your advice to graduates who are graduating from Western Australia? I've seen they've been issuing a lot of nomination, which is good for you, good for clients. So what could be your piece of advice for them in next 6 months they can do to make sure they are ready to go with the state nomination programs?
Sitting through listening different panelists and questions that you're seeing at the same time, it's very fair to say that first and foremost, the two topical occupations is accountants, chefs, and nurses, I understand at the same time. All of them are already under review in Western Australia. So if you're in Western Australia for some reason, accountants, nobody thought would be under review, but it's under review. That doesn't mean that it can never come back again. Okay, it's just the flavor of the month, flavor of the financial year. You call it whatever you want. Having said that, it's an investment. It's something that we cannot crystal ball as to what is going to happen in 6 months to a year and so on and so forth. But it's a good investment. You got to decide which state you're going to go to, who is more bullish, who's going to bounce back better from what's really is happening with really what's happening in front of us right now. Strategize, position. If you're already halfway there, if you need to move somewhere, hey, make a move and I think Harjit, a couple of people have actually said, go seek professional advice, meaning us, why go anywhere else? Come to Aussizz, we will tell you in each respective state where to position yourself. All is not lost. Keep the faith and we'll be with you.
Right. Thanks, Daminderji. Very kind of piece of advice. You said it's under review for accounting. I think you guys got the nominations yesterday as well from the Western Australian government.
Correct.
Did you guys receive any nomination for accountants?
We did. So being under review doesn't mean that they're not inviting you anymore. It just means that, hey, we're just going to put the pedal a little bit off a little bit. And that's what it is. And of course, trades only recently came back on the list and everybody was just jumping up and down. We only had two. We had bakers and chefs. So, I mean, it might come back again. But hospitality, I don't hold my breath. Anything can happen.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So even if it's under review, do not, like your suggestion is don't lose hope. It will be there. It's obviously it's a rotation based process, and
that's what it was. They had accountants under review for 2 years, and then we thought they were going to take them off, put them back again. But now it's suddenly come under review again for the last 2-3 weeks. We're getting a lot of queries from a lot of very jittery people at the same time. They're not gonna muck around too much. Just hold on, Shanti Baba. It's all good. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Vaibhav, what's your piece of advice to the people who are watching you from Sydney?
See, I would say, a lot of people, not only from Sydney, I would say for everybody around Australia, I've come across a lot of clients who have actually, either been misguided. I'm not trying to say that the other agents are not providing right information, or I don't know. So my advice is, if you listen to the news, read first, understand, because sometimes you don't understand yourself as well. And then verify that information and then only act. I came across a client who just called me up. I was like, he's like somebody, I've been informed that I need to move to New South Wales, and I've already moved to New South Wales from Western Australia. Obviously not Aussizz, I'm sure, is some agent had informed the client. I'm not trying to, again, say anything about any other agent, but the client informed me that I was informed to do this. I'm not sure whether the client was telling me the complete truth, but he said I moved to New South Wales because I was advised to do so. But I was like, there is nothing that you can do here because you don't really have a good chances to get a state nomination in New South Wales, right? So every time you listen to the news, yes, that's fine. It's good to listen to different people and get an idea. But then you read yourself, understand that, then verify that information with an expert agent, and then actually act, because you're completely, making and like moving from Western Australia to New South Wales, you're making a big move in terms of, let's say, your residence, in terms of your employment. You're leaving everything and then starting everything back from zero. So
Right.
definitely, decide, first understand everything and make sure that what you're doing is going to be very fruitful for you, and then only move. And as for special advice for accounting and IT graduates, so don't really be fussy about only getting 189 or 190, or and a lot of people are like, I don't want 491. But see, you need to understand where you stand. If you do not stand, if your situation does not favor you to get 189 or 190, do take the 491. I understand that you might have to move to the regional area, but you see, except Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, every other postcode is regional technically, right? Except these metropolitan areas, everything is regional. It's not very hard to get an employment and make 153,900 because you might be making, let's say, $45,000 from one employment, and just drive Uber over the weekend, and you might make 200 and that per week, and that would get you extra $10,000 a year, and you would meet the requirement for 53,900. So it's not a big difference, and you are getting a Medicare card as well. So you actually you're not getting any less benefits than anybody who is a permanent resident, except some social benefits about the employment, not like unemployment and other social security payments. But then you're not likely to get that anyway. You're not likely to claim that anyways, because you are already working here, and therefore you are able to get this 189 or 190 or 491. So it doesn't matter even if you get 491. The only condition is that you have to live in regional areas. So don't be fussy. I would definitely recommend take the option that you have right now, rather than being very greedy and try and get 189 or 190. You might get it, but what if you don't get it, right?
There is always a risk. So there are two key points I would agree with you in this. Is basically number one, don't compare every available information on social media with your profile. Obviously, your profile could be different than what's available on internet. So make sure you understand what are the changes announced, and then understand if it's applicable to your application or not. That's number one. And number two is obviously in current situation, try to accept or take whatever options available as long as you have a pathway towards settling down in Australia. Because we are seeing a lot of changes in the migration program in the last 12 months or more. And we don't know what's going to happen in the future, because again, we are living in very uncertain economical situation where there is a high chance the immigration can go down or up depending on the government's the policies and all those kind of things. So you might not be into the position to argue or in position to decide what visa you want to apply for. It might be better to just choose whatever options available first. See if you can lead towards permanent residency. At least you are securing your future, your hard work in Australia. So these are the I guess 2 key points I'm taking from your opinion.
Yes, Tejas. And I would like to also take an opportunity and tell the client that, see, as I said, after you read and understand, verify means that, contact us, any expert. I'm not saying only Aussizz, but because I'm from Aussizz, I would definitely favor my company and say that contact us. We do have an experienced agents having, long-term experience like Dharminder, yourself. We have got Nirav. They've been in the industry for a while and they've learned everything from the scratch. They know exactly what's happening around. Very energetic team we have, and we are definitely here to listen to you first, see what you exactly want, and then guide you through. Our team is very, very, very well equipped with the knowledge that you need in this time to make the right decision, because without the right decision, without the right approach, you will not get to the destination. Right? It's not the time where you used to get PR very easily, right? Since 2014, the things have started becoming very tough, and having the right approach and having the right agent guiding you. I've got many clients who have not done PY because their agent did not really explain the benefit of professional, right? So when you don't have an agent explaining these things properly to you, you will definitely probably fail. I'm not saying definitely, but
correct. Yeah, as I said, it really depends on comparing your situation with what's available in the market. I would add on to that is basically a lot of students who are asking, who are basically from a IT background in Adelaide and asking if they should be studying nursing or something else. Vaishali will agree with that. Basically, it's not always for you. Obviously, nursing could be someone from a non background where there is no PR options or there is no pathway for them. But if an IT graduate can get a state nomination 190 or 491 through experience or through professional program or through straight graduate experience waiver program and stuff, absolutely there is no requirement for them to go through the nursing or anything else. Because everybody has to one pathway, then they should stick to that.
Yes, I would not take more time. I just want to add one more thing, that, as I said, we are there for you. We are there to support you. We want to listen to you and give you the right advice. So please don't hesitate. And right now we are providing, I think all of our offices are providing free consultation, if not free, but make sure that, see, we might be charging you consultation charge after the COVID-19 pandemic is over, but we do give you the worth of your time and of the money that you're going to spend with us. We will definitely take care of you. So that's all I would like to say. And I hope everybody would agree with that.
Thanks, Vaibhav. Thanks for your input. Nirav, what would you recommend to your viewers or clients or their graduates from Victoria, quickly?
Yes, so I think most of the points are covered. So like if you are a Victorian graduates, like as we know that for nurses and for engineers, there are like options available easily, like for 190. So they need to make sure that they're ready with their skill assessment and the registration and everything. And apart from the engineering and nursing, like if you're IT graduates or an accountant, you still have an options here in Victoria, but you need to be realistic that if you want to get a 95 points, then definitely like you can get 189. But if you think that it will be very difficult for you to get to points up to 90 or 95, you need to choose an option where you can get at least 491. So you might need to move in different states. So as we know that like either moving in South Australia or maybe Canberra or Tasmania. so that you have a backup option for 491 rather than, because anyhow you can try to get 90 points even if you move in different states as well. So you have two options at the same time. So rather than just sticking to get 90 points and waiting for an like there is something new coming up from Victorian state that they will get benefit from that, it's better they should get they should have backup option for them. So that's what I would recommend everyone try to get the skill assessment done and get right advice. As we say that, like, we provide a free consultation currently. So it's definitely worth, even if it's paid, because we we will provide you a genuine information, like where you will have your future prospects, like how you'll able to get your permanent residency, depending on which pathway you can be eligible.
Right. So Nirav, I will extract 2 key points from you. Number one is obviously get ready with the minimum information and the skill assessment. And number 2 is obviously explore what the current options available and accept that options early as possible. So they cannot be choosy, obviously, in terms of certain occupations, but they should be ready with enough information and accept or prepare for the whatever currently available options, and take that to move on to the next stage of the visa process, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Nirav. Vishali, what would you recommend if you have to say something quick to the viewers?
Okay, it's mainly that those from interstate, they should be moving to South Australia, not in hopes of 190, because we have received many calls and then who move here only because they think they would get 190. But no, there is no point in hoping it badly. And then for SA graduates, it's better to go for 491 at this stage, because South Australia I think they have started loving their graduates a lot. They don't want to get rid of them. They want people to stay here. So last month they announced changes where 190 is getting more difficult and they require more experience. It's in fact 491 is getting less difficult. So it's better to go for 491 at least.
491, obviously, we have an option for the long-term resident of South Australia as well.
Yeah, there are multiple pathways: high performance, long-term residence, and then for nurses, currently they have waived off the requirement completely. So it's better to stick to it.
So we'll try our best to retain a talent in South Australia, rather than letting them to go to New South Wales.
Yeah.
Parth, do you have anything to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, for sure. About the Canberra, I would say people who is planning to relocate to Canberra, I would say people who are whose occupation is under open category, it's better for them to relocate. Again, we don't know the occupation, as Dharminder was saying that maybe after a few months of time, the occupation list may get updated, occupation which were open get closed. You never know. But I would say people whose occupation is open, Canberra is a good option. And the people who are married, I would say for them also, they can score more points on the metric system. That's where they can also plan to relocate to Canberra. And for Canberra, they keep changing the requirements frequently. That's where if you're eligible to apply for the Canberra metrics, you should apply for it, because sometimes when they say is that now onwards, if someone applied, they will not be able to like get 10 extra points because you have studied suppose for 1 year in past, something like that. So it's better to apply for Canberra metrics with whatever points you have. Later on, if you get more points, you can apply for new metrics anyway. For Northern Territory, it's pretty much same if you apply now, later on, I guess. So that's fine with Northern Territory, I guess.
Right. Superstar Harjeet, I've got a lot of positive comments about you in the Facebook live session. Do you want to say anything about this topic? Any advice to your clients or viewers?
Yes, thanks, Tejas. Thanks for the compliment from you too. Thanks a lot. And I would suggest one thing, please, to all of our viewers, that whoever is at the moment completing their job ready program in Victoria, I've been asking many questions from many of my applicants, or even if they haven't started job ready program through Aussizz still, they are saying they have been informed from their agents that move to different state to do the job ready program. They already started in Victoria. It's been like 3 to 4 months. And in this pandemic period, they are seeking a job in South Australia, because as we all aware, South Australia has got the options, and they are seeking a job in New South Wales. I'm just giving everyone advice, please stick to your job wherever you're working now. Let everything settle down. Then you can seek a job in South Australia or New South Wales. Because at the moment, even if you have a job, it's a positive thing for you. Continue your job ready program, and later on, when everything settled down, you can find a job later on, you know, to continue whatever your job ready program is pending. One more thing I want to add on is I've got many clients coming up with the refusals of Victoria Regional, refusals of 190 Victoria. And they are very, panicked. They are saying Victoria has imposed a ban on them. You know, that within 6 months, they won't be eligible to apply. I would say, yes, there are possibilities for them to apply again to Victoria before their 6 months ban. You know, you need to seek the expert advice. Definitely myself, I've got many clients who approaches me after the refusal in Victoria. After the refusal, within 1 month or within 2 months, I've got a positive outcome for them. You need to seek the advice. Don't worry about the 6 months ban. We might give you some kind of advice that may help you to apply again. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys, for your time today.
Thanks, Arjit. That was a very good piece of advice to keep the job in this current situation. Thank you very much, everyone. It was a very lengthy session. It was very first time we are doing this, and I really appreciate all of you to take out this time to be part of this session. I hope the students or the applicants who are watching this video would have some information, have a bit of knowledge about their future plans and stuff. I really want to thank again, and we look forward to see you again into the next live. It could be different topic, but yeah, thanks for your expertise. We'll enjoy your weekend. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks.